I was meal prepping chicken and broccoli, trying to keep dinner bland for my pre-op diet, when my husband Jason breezed through the kitchen, saying, "Heads up, Mom's 60th is next weekend. We're doing a big birthday trip to Maui." The knife paused in my hand. My surgery to remove a 6-centimeter ovarian tumor was scheduled for the same weekend. "We'll move your procedure," he added, like rescheduling a haircut. That night, I made the first decision that would save me. I didn't argue. I listened. Because that birthday trip was a cover. And when their plane eventually landed not in Hawaii but at JFK, the person waiting at the gate for them was me. It started 2 nights earlier, on the 35th floor of my office in downtown Seattle. I'm Lauren Tate, 35 marketing director at a tech company. Contracts and crises don't rattle me. But the single page in my hand did. Ovarian mass 6.0 centimeters. Recommend prompt surgical removal. I stared past the floor-to-ceiling glass at the freeway lights, a man-made Milky Way that did not stop spinning just because my world had tilted. I called Jason. Video game noise bled through until he muted it. "Babe, you're okay, right? These things are usually benign," he said, voice-warm words pre-programmed. "Don't stress. Come home. We'll figure it out." I hung up and my phone lit again, this time a long text from my mother-in-law, Linda. "No. How are you feeling?" "Just a list. Could I spot an extra $200 because groceries are insane? Could I upgrade Mandy's ancient phone since all her friends have the new one? And oh, Dad's cough sounded bad. Maybe order those pricey supplements she saw on TikTok." The diagnosis printout burned in my palm. In my husband's family ledger, I realized I wasn't a daughter-in-law. I was a line item. I went home early the next night. Our condo bought with my down payment before the wedding was neat, expensive, and freezing in the way spaces get when love does paperwork instead of work. Jason was draped on the couch, feet up, phone in hand. He hugged me tight, and the history in his arms, the rain-soaked proposal with a clover ring, the broke years when we split a 10-piece McNuggets, almost tricked me. Then he cleared his throat. I asked around. "We should do your surgery at County. Cheaper, solid doctors, you know." No need to burn cash at a private hospital. He didn't ask if I was scared. He asked how much it would cost. I smiled like a good wife and said I'd think about it. That night, the first cold seed of doubt took root. 2 days later, I went looking for our life insurance PDF in the dusty joint Gmail we rarely touched. A folder called Family Memories caught my eye. It wasn't photos. It was months of credit card statements on the card I'd added Jason to for emergencies. In the newest file, $1, $240 at a high-end jewelry boutique on the 15th. Jason had told me he was out of town that day. A $382 charge at a candlelit French bistro for 2. And the big one, recurring weekend charges at a downtown boutique hotel known for its privacy, not its conference rooms. I printed the statements, circled the worst, and slid them across the kitchen island that evening. "Client diplomacy," he said smoothly. "Director Lee's wife anniversary gift." The dinner entertaining. The hotel. Our vendor booked it. I swung by for drinks. His tone was calm. His stories came fully assembled like furniture from a box. He even touched my elbow. "You're anxious because of surgery, babe. Let me handle things." I let him. I needed time. I called my best friend Callie. She didn't coo or pity. She told me to stop bleeding for people who feed on it. Through one of her colleagues, I met Evan King, a family law attorney, who listened without blinking, then slid me a velvet box no bigger than a truffle. Inside a micro camera, with a pinhole lens. If he's siphoning your assets or planning to, Evan said, "Don't spook him. Get the truth." I waited until Jason went out with the guys, then knelt on our office rug and fixed the camera beneath the floating bookshelf wide angle on the desk, flawless audio. I went back to being good. I took my vitamins, I meal prepped, I laughed at his jokes, and I kept my eyes open. The Maui plan dropped at dinner a week later. "Mom wants all her kids there," Jason announced, like a benevolent CEO handing out bonuses. "It's her 60th, we're doing it right. Flights and the 5-star are booked." "My surgery is Saturday," I said lightly. "Then move it," he replied, the first true emotion, a flicker of irritation skating under his voice. "You're fine." The doctor said, "Benign, right? Family first." I set my fork down. "You're right. I'll reschedule." His relief was instant, like I'd stopped being a problem and returned to being payroll. That night, Linda and Mandy came over with bakery boxes and fake concern throwing words like confetti. I pled fatigue and slipped into the bedroom, shut the door, and put in Bluetooth earbuds paired to the pinhole beneath our shelf. I heard rappers and whine, then Linda's voice triumphant. Told you be firm, and she folds. Maui is perfect. Everyone will see the trip online, and she'll pretend she's happy for us. Mandy's tone was sharper. Stop gloating. Focus. Do we have New York locked? New York. Jason's chair creaked. Relax. We fly to Honolulu Friday, take the red-eye straight to JFK. The Maui birthday is a cover. We dump the growth equity fund first thing Monday, full liquidation. 2.1 million hits the Swiss account by noon Eastern. By the time Lauren wakes up for her yogurt and vitamins, the nest egg is gone. Forks clinked, wine poured. They started arguing over how to split money they had not yet stolen. I lay there in the dark, very still. The fund he meant the future fund he'd pitched as our golden goose wasn't his. It was my 10 years of bonuses, my vested stock, my scrimping. Every refinance and side project and extra contract I'd taken to keep us steady now had a price tag and an exit route. When they finally left, I walked to the office and retrieved the camera. I saved the file in 3 places and sent it to Evan with a single line, "What's our next move?" His reply buzzed seconds later. "We go to New York, quietly." The next morning, I told Jason I'd pushed surgery a few weeks and that my college roommate was having a quick beach wedding in San Diego, hence an out-of-state weekend and some dress shopping. I left a browser tab open showing a Southwest itinerary to San Diego in my name. Under a different tab, in a different account, I booked myself on a red-eye to New York as L. Gray, the name I use for international conferences so vendors don't spam my personal email. While he packed floral shirts and purchased polarized sunglasses for Maui, I set up out-of-office messages, granted my team temporary authority, and opened a brand new bank account at a branch across town. I gathered documents, our marriage certificate, the fund statements, 10 years of pay stubs, the audio of their birthday plan. I zipped everything into a slim black backpack and hid it under my winter coats. The night before they left for Hawaii, Jason held me in our kitchen and promised to make it up to me after his mom's birthday. "We'll be set after this year," he murmured, lips in my hair. "No more worry." I smiled into his shoulder and thought, "Oh, I'm done worrying. I'm planning." At dawn, I kissed him goodbye at the curb. He waved from the rideshare with that same bright, careless grin that once made me feel safe. When the car turned the corner, I went upstairs, took out the black backpack, and locked our door behind me without looking back. By the time Jason's connection touched down in Honolulu, I was chasing sunrise over the Rockies headed east. He believed I was in San Diego for an old friend's vows. In truth, I was flying toward Manhattan with a lawyer's number on speed dial and a hard drive full of their voices saying the quiet part out loud. Their perfect plan had one fatal flaw. They forgot the resource they were about to strip, had a mind, a spine, and receipts. The red-eye slid into a gray New York morning. I'd slept maybe 20 minutes, cheek creased by a stack of notarized exhibits. On my phone, a 3-line checklist I'd read so many times it felt tattooed. File emergency motion. Serve the fund and the bank. Meet them at the gate. Evan's New York co-counsel, a commercial litigator named Mara Feld, met me curbside outside Terminal 4 with coffee and a rolling case. Tall, blunt, zero small talk. "We've got a judge in Part 53 who's read your papers," she said. "Audio file is gold. We go ex parte for a temporary restraining order prohibiting any redemption transfer or encumbrance of the growth equity fund position pending adjudication. Then we hit the fund admin and the custodian with service. Clock starts now." We didn't leave the airport. We ducked into a glassed-in business center between baggage claim and the air train. While Mara's paralegal tethered a printer, I signed my affidavit, 10 years of contributions traceable to my wages. Our joint account used as a funnel, the recorded Maui cover, with their New York red-eye, and the Swiss account at the finish line. Exhibit tabs flipped like a deck of cards. Payroll stubs, fund statements, the PDF of my tumor diagnosis. Mara read every line aloud, a metronome for my nerves. "You're asking for a TRO on marital waste and fraud," she said, pen tapping. "We're not accusing the fund of wrongdoing. We're telling them you're on notice. That's all we need today." By 7:52 a.m., the order was signed email from the judge's clerk carrying the 3 most beautiful words in Times New Roman TRO granted. 20 minutes later, a process server with forearms like hams sprinted toward security with stamped packets for the fund's registered agent and the custodian bank's legal orders inbox. The paralegal pushed fax, email, and courier all at once. Next, Mara said, "You buy yourself airside access." I bought a fully refundable noon ticket to Boston, cleared TSA with my laptop and the hard drive, then followed signs toward Gate B, where Hawaiian's red-eye from Honolulu would spit out 3 people planning to turn me into a ghost. I texted one person, Callie, "I'm okay. It's in motion. Don't call." A dot appeared like she was typing back, then vanished. She knows me well enough to let silence be ballast. I made myself small in a row of airport seats and watched the morning gates perform their little ballets. Arrivals kiss. Arrivals, wheelies squeak. Baristas shout names. Mara stayed landside to marshal service and keep the fund's lawyers on the hook. The moment they acknowledge receipt, she'd said, "Your money is a porcupine." Pointy. No one wants to touch it. At 8:43, my phone vibrated. Feld Law Fund Administrator acknowledged TRO. Redemption on hold. Custodian flagged the Swiss wire and has frozen outbound activity pending review. You're covered. The relief was chemical dizzying. Then the PA cracked Flight 51 from Honolulu has arrived. There's a particular sound when a red-eye unloads the collective exhale of people who've slept badly and want showers. They came in waves, surfers with board bags, honeymooners with leis half wilted. And then I saw them. Linda in a travel tracksuit, pearls for breakfast. Mandy sunglasses the size of Saucer's phone, already up for stories that would later pretend to be Maui. And Jason Tan, from the Honolulu connection he never took outside the terminal on the phone, already jaw set. I knew that handling it faced the way a firefighter knows smoke. I stood. "Hi," I said when his eyes finally found me. How was Maui? For a second, the airport fell quiet. People streamed around us like water around a rock. He hung up in slow motion. "Lauren," he said, voice hoarse. How did you? "Gate access requires a boarding pass," I said, because facts are calming. "And a judge requires evidence." I brought both. Linda recovered first, outrage bubbling. "You moved your surgery for this circus." "At least pretend to be decent, Lauren." "I moved my surgery," I said evenly, "because you made a birthday trip a cover to liquidate my account." Jason blinked. Our account? Mandy, who had been taking a video for close friends, lowered her phone like it weighed 50 pounds. A small tremor ran through her wrist. For the first time, she looked more spooked than smug. "Jason Miller," a voice said over my shoulder. He'd kept his last name. I'd kept mine. A man in a navy windbreaker, with a leather satchel and a flat Midwestern affect stepped between us. Process server. Temporary restraining order. Notice of action and subpoena duces tecum. "You've been served." He handed Jason a thick envelope, then, with pro-level neutrality, handed thinner packets to Linda and Mandy. "Non-parties with potential knowledge," he said, and was gone, vanishing into the tide of roller bags. Jason flipped through the first pages, eyes snagging on the judge's signature. Then, on Exhibit A, transcript of audio recording. 8:17 p.m., and the recognizable cadence of his own voice. "Relax." We fly to Honolulu, then straight to JFK. The Maui birthday is a cover. We dump the fund Monday. "I never said that," he rasped. "You did," I said. The bookshelf camera captured it, and you were kind enough to timestamp it with the wine pour. His phone pinged in his hand. Then again, and again rapid-fire alerts from the fund admin, the custodian bank, his advisor. He swiped red, swallowed. Color climbed his neck. Linda leaned in, reading over his arm. "What does frozen mean?" she asked. "They can't do that, right? That's our money." "Frozen means the redemption and any wires are on hold until a judge hears from both sides," I said. "And our is doing violence here, Linda." I traced 95% of those contributions to my wages. "That's Exhibit B." She drew herself up like a cat making itself big. "After everything we've done for you, like asking me to buy your supplements and upgrade your daughter's phone the night I told you I had a tumor," I asked. "That list is Exhibit D." Mandy took off her sunglasses, eyes flicking from Jason to me to the envelope in his hand. Her voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it. "You said she started, then stopped. You said we were just moving money around." Jason didn't answer. He was scrolling frantically now. Every new email landed like a tiny hammer. We have received a court order. Your request will not be processed at this time. Compliance review initiated. Please direct communications through counsel. So here's how this works, I said, keeping my voice calm. Because calm is the cruelest truth. You will not sell the fund today. You will not move it to Switzerland. You will not so much as breathe on the position without letting the court know. If you try to work around new account nominee, whatever everything you touch gets dragged into the light. You understand. He finally looked up. For a heartbeat, I saw the boy I met at 25, the one who'd cajoled me into taking the night bus to the ocean so we could watch waves as the sun came up and promise each other big lives. Then it was gone, replaced by calculation and anger. You blindsided me, he said. You planned to take everything while I was under anesthesia, I said. I'm just on time. Security rolled by bored and alert, at the same time a paradox I've only ever seen in airports and ERs. The moment hung there hot and airless. Mara's text came in funds counsel on the phone with me. They won't process anything. I'll loop you after you breathe. I should have walked away, then let the paperwork do the harm for me. Instead, I took one small step closer so he could smell the coffee on my breath and the sleeplessness behind my perfume. Here's what happens next, I said. You go with your mother to wherever you've stashed your New York office selfie. You call your lawyer. You calendar the hearing date they just sent you. And you think very carefully about the lies you've told in the last 6 months, because I have the receipts and the patience to set every single one in order. He smiled the little half smile that used to charm waiters into free dessert and me into forgiving. You think you won, he said softly. We still have options. Not today you don't, I said. Behind him, Mandy shifted. Jason, she whispered, tell her about. He shot her a look so sharp, she bit the rest of the sentence in half. There it was, a hairline crack. Breadcrumb, I thought, noted. I stepped back, slid my boarding pass into my pocket, and let the river of passengers carry me a few feet away. Over my shoulder, I added almost kindly, by the way, don't bother posting your Maui sunset. The metadata says Queens. Linda sputtered. What is metadata? Proof, I said. My phone buzzed one more time. A new unknown number with a New York area code. Lauren, we haven't met. I'm Riley Operations at the fund. Given the court order, we'll need a call with you directly. Also, there's something you'll want to see on our end re an authorized agent added to your account last month. Authorized agent, not Jason, someone else. The funny thing about a fire, once it finds a draft, it races. I texted Mara that I was stepping aside to take a call, then looked back at the three of them. My husband, his mother, his sister huddled over a phone trying to put a story back together with hands that suddenly shook. Enjoy New York, I said, and walked toward a quiet corner under a departures screen to hear what Riley had to tell me. Riley's voice was steady, the kind you want reading you bad news. Ms. Tate, the TRO, stops any redemption. But a month ago, we received an agent authorization package, adding a third party to your account. Third party who? My mouth went dry. A Deirdre D. Hart, listed as Household Financial Coordinator. The form bears your signature, notarized in New Jersey. It arrived with a change of mailing address to a Midtown UPS store box, and a standing instruction to wire proceeds to Helvetia Private AG Zurich. I'm emailing you the PDFs and the audit trail. My screen filled with scans, my name in a handwriting that looked almost right. If you didn't know my loops, a notary stamp smudged at the edges. A UPS mailbox on Lexington, and a one-page wire direction that smelled like Jason's thesaurus. Riley kept going. We also have KYC flags. The e-sign originated from a Dell Latitude on a home Wi-Fi named MillerNet 5G. Then a verification call from a woman claiming to be you from a 206 number that later failed callback. The rep logged background TV. Female voice hesitant reads from script. No one escalated at the time. That's on us. With the court order, we're cooperating fully. A second call joined with a click. Mara. I'm on. Riley, thank you. Send the IP logs, call recording, and notary info to my secure box. We'll move to amend forgery, identity theft, attempted dissipation. Riley added one more hook. There's also an authorized agent, noted as having in-person pickup privileges for checks. We scheduled a routine KYC recertification this afternoon, 3:00 p.m. at our Midtown office. If you want us to require the agent to appear with ID, we can. Mara didn't miss. Perfect. Keep that on. We'll be there with counsel and a photographer. If Ms. Hart shows, we document. If Mr. Miller shows, we serve supplemental papers. If nobody shows, we preserve evidence. I ended the call and stared at the forged Lauren Tate. The L was too tall. The T crossed too hard. Small things, but betrayal always leaves fingerprints. Evan called from Seattle, voice low measured. That notary, Carla Delgado, NJ Commission, number 52178, will subpoena her journal. I'll also draft a criminal referral for forgery and ID theft. You okay? I'm functioning, I said. It wasn't a lie. Grief would need a time slot later. Mara texted an address, park in 53rd and bring ID. I bought a cab out of the terminal maze and let Midtown's steel jet past the window. Callie's name lit my phone. Take the win when it lands. Eat, breathe. She knows victory is just adrenaline if you don't chew it. Riley met us in a conference room of glass and brushed metal. He slid an accordion folder across the table like it was a live thing. Evidence doesn't just speak, it narrates. Agent authorization. My signature, a photo of D. Hart stapled to page 2, beach blonde 30-ish eyes that study cameras. Notary acknowledgement, Carla Delgado stamped the date off by 1 digit from the IP log. Change of address, Lexington Ave. Suite number 112, UPS box. Wire direction, Helvetia Private, AG Zurich. Beneficiary J. Miller. C. Saw O. Aries Family Trust. Who added household financial coordinator? Mara asked. Riley pointed to the metadata. Manual entry. From the same device that submitted the e-sign. And the verification call, I asked. He tapped a file. A voice came out tinny over the conference speaker, using my name with a question mark at the end of every sentence. Yes, I authorize D to, pick up any checks. For me. TV chatter in the background. My stomach turned. Mara's pen clicked a metronome. We'll file a second amended petition and a motion for civil contempt if they approach the asset again, plus his referrals to Manhattan DA and NJ AG for forgery and notary fraud. Riley, do not cancel the 3:00 p.m. recert. If anyone shows your security, we'll ask them to remain. We'll already be in the building. Riley nodded. We'll have compliance present. I'll alert the desk. I flipped to the last sheet and felt a small, ugly relief, authorized agent contact phone ending 4437. Not Jason's, not Linda's. A new piece on the board. Breadcrumb. At 2:38 p.m., I stepped into the ladies' room, splashed cold water, and watched a version of me I recognized. No mascara smudges. Jaw set, eyes clear, stare back. I thought of the night Jason proposed in the rain with a clover ring. Of the way he'd kissed my hair yesterday morning and told me not to worry. How many rehearsals had he needed before he could forge my name with a notary and keep his breath steady? 3:02 p.m. reception called upstairs. Your visitor is here, Ms. Deirdre Hart. Mara raised an eyebrow. Showtime. Riley and a compliance officer led us to a small glass room off the lobby. A receptionist ushered in D. In person, she was sharper than her photo-precise makeup, transactional smile, the chilled poise of someone who's been coached. I'd please, Riley said. She slid over a Washington license. Deirdre Hart, Capitol Hill. Address, a laminated grin from a better hair day. The compliance officer compared it to the photo on the form, then to Dee's face. We're conducting a standard recertification, he said, and because of a court order, we'll need you to wait while we confirm documentation with the account owner. That's when Dee clocked me. A blink, a quick glance at the exits. Fight or flight rubbed against her ribcage. Ms. Hart, Mara said evenly, I'm counsel to Ms. Tate. We have a court order freezing any movement on this account. We also have a recorded call of you representing yourself as Ms. Tate and a forged authorization. You can either sit here and wait for NYPD and the DA's investigator so we can talk about identity theft, or you can cooperate now on the record with our stenographer about who instructed you. A muscle feathered in her jaw. I want a lawyer. That's the best answer you've given today, Mara said, not unkindly. You're free to use your phone right here on speaker. If you try to leave, building security will stop you. Dee looked at me, then really looked. Maybe she found something human to hold. "This isn't what he told me," she murmured, just audible. "He said his wife wanted out. He said, you were sick and didn't want the stress." There it was, the script Jason gave her, the same varnish he painted over every rotten plank. "What did he promise you?" I asked. "No heat, just facts." Her eyes flicked to Riley, to Mara, back to me. "A cut," she said finally. 10% after the transfer hit. A place, and she stopped. "Zurich," I filled in. I saw the wire. A beat. The receptionist slid in and quietly placed a small digital recorder on the table. Dee exhaled. "His name is Jason Miller," she said. "We met at a co-working space near South Lake Union last year. He said he ran point on family investments. He added me to the Amex, said I'd be a household coordinator. I bought things he paid. He told me your marriage was over, just not public." Her voice faltered for the first time. "He said your money was dead cash unless he moved it." Mara was already taking notes for an affidavit. "Who told you to sign as Lauren on the verification call?" "He did," Dee whispered. "He wrote a script. He said, Riley's team just needs the boxes checked. Read it slow." He paid the notary. I didn't think." She swallowed. "I didn't think you'd actually be hurt. You never do until you're the one holding the knife, I didn't say." Mara slid a form across the table. "Here's what cooperation looks like. You'll sign a sworn statement, you'll surrender the Amex Jason issued, and you'll provide messages. Call logs, hotel receipts, and the UPS mailbox key today. In exchange, we'll include your cooperation in our referral. That's not immunity, that's oxygen." Dee's hands shook. After a long minute, she nodded. While compliance made copies of her ID and the Amex, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. 206. 1192. A text popped up. "We need to talk, not over the phone. Today. Then meet me at 5:30 Bryant Park by the carousel. Alone. And M. Mandy. Breadcrumb. Bridge." I showed Mara. She didn't blink. "If she flips, we get the rest of the architecture, who opened the UPS box, who paid the notary, who booked the Maui cover. We'll sit 2 blocks away. You walk, you listen, you keep your hands visible, and you record." Riley came back with a tidy pile, Dee's signed cooperation statement, a flash drive of the call recording and IP logs, and a photocopy of the UPS mailbox contract. Linda's name on the rental, Mandy listed as an alternate pickup. There it was, the family triangle in one neat stack. The manipulator, the mother who blesses the taking, the sister who carries the bags. We left the fund with a folder that felt heavier than its paper. Outside Park Avenue glittered like it always does, indifferent and efficient. My surgery date lived in my calendar like a small blue square that wouldn't move anymore. My money was safe for now. The law was awake. The mistress had talked, and the sister had asked for a meeting. At 5:28 p.m., I stood by the carousel in Bryant Park, phone in my coat pocket, on voice memo, the smell of pretzels and hot chocolate mixing with the early evening cold. Mandy arrived, hood up, sunglasses off, face paler than usual. She didn't bother with preamble. "Jason's not going to stop," she said. "He booked a backup if the fund stalled. He had a buyer lined up to take your position off book through a private desk at a hotel tomorrow morning." She swallowed. "And he told Mom if you got in the way, he'd solve it. Which, I don't even know what that means anymore." I let her talk. Sometimes gravity does the work. "I didn't care when it was just your money," she said too fast, as if speed could outrun shame. "I told myself you could afford it. But when he added the Swiss trust with my name as a beneficiary, I realized we were all just disposable. He promised me a cut and a year in Europe. Then he told Dee the same thing. That's how he works," I said quietly. "He promises everyone 10% of the same dollar." She looked at me for the first time, eyes wet but clear. "I'll testify," she said. "I'll give you the hotel, the room, the time, the name on the burner he's using. I don't want anything. Her voice cracked. "I want out." I nodded once. "Then tell me everything." She did. Hotel Southgate, 9:00 a.m. Room 2410. Name on the private desk, trader, K. Rourke. Jason's burner, 917. 7730. The plan swap, a signed assignment of interest for a bag of cashier's checks. Then wire to Zurich in smaller bursts to dodge scrutiny. The arrogance was almost art. When she finished, I pressed stop on my phone and texted Mara the whole package. The reply came back in seconds. I'm on with NYPD Financial Crimes and the hotel's security. We'll set the room, control the hallway, and let them walk into their own mirror. Mandy pulled her hood lower. For what it's worth, she said, I'm sorry. Don't be sorry to me, I said. Be useful to yourself. Tell the truth when it's hard, not just when it's safe. She nodded and disappeared into the crowd. I stood there for a long beat as the carousel music spun, then headed east into the grid folder under my arm. A court date on the horizon, a sting wired for morning, and a surgery on the calendar that I would walk into with my head up. By 8:35 a.m., the Southgate's elevator chimed like a polite accomplice and let us out on the 24th floor. The hallway carpet was a muted blue pattern that swallowed footfall, ice machine humming, someone's room service tray cooling under a silver dome. I could smell coffee and floor polish and the metal tang of my own adrenaline. NYPD Financial Crimes had staged the floor like a chessboard. 2 detectives in housekeeping polos hovered by the service closet. Another pair suits under windbreakers lingered near the elevator, with a luggage cart. Hotel security held the passkeys, and the legal department had signed off on cooperation. Mara stood with me in room 2408, an adjoining room the hotel had comped for maintenance. She set her laptop on the desk. The screen showed a live body cam feed from inside room 2410. On the feed, a man in a gray blazer poured water into 2 glasses and checked his watch. He wasn't a private desk trader. Not really. He was Detective Kieran Rourke, thin wire in his collar, a deal folder open to a 1-page assignment of interest. The cashier's checks were decoys, high-resolution props with real bank routing and a tracer that would pop if they left the room. My phone vibrated. Riley FYI Custodian Counsel will file an affidavit this afternoon. No redemptions, no transfers, full freeze acknowledged. Mara didn't look away from the screen. No asset moves, she murmured. So he'll try to sell smoke. 8:52. Callie texted a single emoji, crossed swords, and then a heart. I pocketed the phone. Across the way, Detective Rourke squared the folder and placed a blue messenger envelope on the table like bait. 8:57. The elevator bell. The camera mic picked up the small symphony of a hallway, the squeak of a suitcase, the faint ding of someone's phone, the hush of carpet as footsteps stopped outside 2410, the peephole fish-eyed a figure. The lock clicked. Jason walked in with a leather brief bag and his closing smile, the one that had sold landlords, waitstaff, and me a dozen times. He wore the same shirt from JFK ironed. He shook Rourke's hand like they'd met before. Appreciate you moving fast, Jason said, setting the brief bag on the table. Time zones, you know. Rourke smiled neutrally. You have the assignment. Jason slid out a stapled packet. Assignment of Interest Growth. Equity Fund. J. Miller, Authorized Agent. Bold, confident signatures. Lauren Tate forged Deirdre Hart, already flipped notary Carla Delgado's stamp. I felt Mara's shoulder touch mine for half a second steady. Rourke flipped a page. You know we'll need the owner's consent if this triggers any rights of first refusal or lockups. Jason's eyes didn't flicker. Owner's on board. We've already signed the wire direction for Zurich. We're doing this clean. Rourke tapped the blue envelope. Consideration. Jason opened it. 10 cashier's checks, each for just under a threshold that would trigger reports if deposited separately. He couldn't help it, his mouth tilted. He believed he'd outsmarted the math. Before I hand those over, Rourke said, closing the folder, I'll need to confirm a couple of things. The custodian received a TRO this morning. Jason's smile thinned. Paper tigers. We're not touching the fund. We're assigning our interest. Secondary. Perfectly legal. Mara's fingers hovered over her keyboard, live transcribing in a file labeled Room 2410, Statement Against Interest. On the screen, Jason reached into his brief bag and produced a UPS mailbox key and a laminated card Authorized Agent. My stomach turned. The lamination bubbles looked homemade. Rourke nodded like a bored clerk. And your co-signers. Coordinators, Jason corrected too smooth. One's at the dentist. He smirked. The other is on a plane. Breadcrumb, payoff. D was 2 blocks away with our cooperation statement. I watched his lie land and dissolve right there like salt on a tongue. Rourke leaned back. Do me a favor, call your coordinator. Just to say hello. Jason chuckled and pulled out a burner. The body cam caught the number 917. 773's yo dialing and ringing. In a detective's pocket down the hall, the officer let it buzz, then silenced it. Jason put the phone down, annoyed now. Control slipping. Look, we're on the clock. Rourke smiled with his eyes this time small, almost kind. So are we. He glanced toward the door and said, conversational now. The hallway bloomed with movement, 2 detectives, hotel security, a third with a handheld camera. The latch clicked. The door swung open. Police, a voice said, firm but not loud. Mr. Miller, step away from the table. Keep your hands where I can see them. Jason's laugh was too high. Is this a joke? Not even a little, the detective said, as another officer slid a warrant on the table next to the decoy checks. You are being detained on suspicion of attempted grand larceny scheme to defraud forgery and identity theft. You have the right to remain silent. Jason's gaze blew past the badge to the camera fight, then calculation, then the performance again. Lauren put you up to this, he said, and for a second, I thought he'd look toward our peephole through a wall like he could smell me there. She's hysterical. She's... Stop talking, Rourke advised, almost friendly as the cuffs clicked. Save it for counsel. Jason's eyes finally betrayed him. Panic bright as a flare when the detective lifted the assignment of interest and read the forged Lauren Tate back to him. I laid my palm flat on the desk in 2408 to remember gravity. The camera showed the blue envelope, the brief bag, the UPS key, the burner, the laminated agent card, every prop from his little theater, now evidence. They walked him out without drama. The hallway swallowed them. The ice machine hummed on. For a breath, nobody spoke. Then Mara closed her laptop. Quiet devastations are my favorite, she said softly. They travel better in court. I laughed once, a sound that wasn't pretty, and sat down because my knees had gone wobbly. 9:27 a.m., a text from Mandy. He's calling me. What do I do? I typed, don't answer. If you're ready, go to Feldlaw. Tell everything. We'll put it on paper. She replied with a single OK and a location pin, walking toward our building. By noon, we had a Chain D's sworn statement with texts, hotel receipts, and the Amex Jason issued. Mandy's affidavit, UPS rental, the notary, meet the script he wrote for D, the Maui cover, and the Swiss Trust. Riley's packet IP logs, call recordings metadata, tying MillerNet 5G to the forgery submission. NYPD's report, attempted secondary sale in room 2410. The decoy checks, the burner, the assignment packet, the UPS key. Mara stitched it into a second amended petition that read like a ledger and a eulogy. She added a motion for civil contempt if he touched anything else, then hit file. Evan phoned in from Seattle to coordinate a criminal referral to the Manhattan DA and the NJAG for the notary fraud. At 2:40, Riley pinged again, custodian filed affidavit. Judge scheduled a status conference for Friday. Also, small heads up. Mr. Miller tried to log into your account from a new device labeled MillerNetted Guest. Our system blocked it. We've preserved the log. I texted Callie. It's over. She replied, no. It's beginning. Now you pick what over looks like. She was right. Freezing money isn't freedom. It's the space in which you decide. The precinct holding room smelled like sanitizer and exhaustion. Mara asked if I wanted to see him. I didn't. I wanted the paper to work so I wouldn't have to speak. Then I thought of every woman who'd ever been asked if she was sure if she had proof if she wanted to calm down. I said yes. The officer buzzed us through. Jason sat at a steel table caged by fluorescent light. The arrogance had bled off, leaving a slack-faced man with a shadow of a beard and wrists red from cuffs. When he looked up and saw me, he tried to stand. The guard's hand on his shoulder set him back gently. For a second, I saw the boy with the clover ring. Then I saw the forged L, the laminate bubbles, the blue envelope. Both were true, and one had killed the other. You blindsided me, he said, voice low, trying for intimacy. You wrote a script for a stranger to pretend to be me, I said. You rented a mailbox to move my mail. You scheduled my tumor surgery around your liquidation window. You didn't leave me much to do but wake up. He flinched at tumor. He always had. You win, he said like a sulky child. Happy! This isn't a game, I said. It's math and law, and what's left of my dignity. I placed a manila envelope on the table. Inside a draft divorce complaint, a stipulation acknowledging the TRO, and a consent to exclusive control of the account pending final orders. Sign the stipulation, I said. Have your lawyer call mine. Stop touching what isn't yours. His mouth shaped a no. Then yes. Then nothing. The guard lifted the envelope, handed it to him. He didn't open it. Mara touched my elbow. Time. Back outside New York was unbothered. A delivery guy wheeled a tower of water jugs down the sidewalk. A bus sighed at a curb. The winter sun was too bright for the air. Symbolic observation, my brain whispered from some writerly corner. The city's pulse didn't notice one woman choosing herself. That night in my hotel room, I set 2 alarms for the surgical consult I had moved, not canceled. I forwarded Mara's filings to Evan and CC'd myself at 3 email addresses. I ate a sandwich I could taste. I slept for 4 hours without dreaming. In the morning, Mandy texted a photo from a conference room, the affidavit in front of her, her handwriting steady. Dee sent a scan of the UPS mailbox contents, the fake change of address cards Jason had mailed to himself unopened. Riley sent confirmation that the fund had flagged our file legal hold. A life can collapse with noise. It can also pivot in quiet on the hinge of 4 signatures and a judge's order. Tomorrow, we would stand before that judge. I would wear a navy dress and tell the truth like a script I finally chose. After court, I would meet my surgeon and set a date that was about my body, not about a man's calendar. The 2 battles would share a calendar week. Fine, I would walk into both. The courthouse air was recycled and too cold, like it had a grudge. Outside Part 53, the hallway benches were full of people who looked like they'd slept in their clothes, and people who looked like they'd never slept badly a day in their lives. I sat between Mara and a file box with my name sharpied on the spine. Inside 10 years of pay stubs, the bookshelf audio D's sworn statement, Mandy's affidavit, the Room 2410 report, and a UPS key in an evidence bag. Jason arrived with a lawyer in a perfect navy suit and a mother in pearls. He glanced at me the way a man checks a locked door, testing not seeing. Linda's mouth was already a line. Mandy didn't sit with them. She took the opposite bench and stared at her hands. Tate V. Miller, the clerk, called. We stood. The judge, sharp eyes, neat bun voice, like a gavel wrapped in velvet, gestured us forward. Mara introduced the stack piece by piece, laying a breadcrumb trail the court could eat. Exhibit A, audio transcript of the Maui cover, and the JFK plan, Exhibit B, tracing of contributions from my wages. Exhibit C, forged, agent authorization and notary issues. Exhibit D, UPS, mailbox rental, and change of address. Exhibit E, the Hotel Southgate sting with the fake cashier's checks and the assignment of interest. Jason's lawyer tried to make it an accounting error wrapped in a marital spat. Your Honor, no money moved. My client pursued a secondary transaction that is not a redemption. At worst, this is a misunderstanding between spouses about portfolio strategy. The judge lifted a single page between 2 fingers, the Lauren Tate from the assignment. This signature is not hers, she said. This court is not in the business of rewarding misunderstandings that require forgery, notary fraud, and a UPS store. Silence has a sound when it lands. It's like carpet taking weight. Here's what will happen. The judge continued, voice even. The temporary restraining order is converted to a preliminary injunction. Mr. Miller is enjoined from accessing, directing, encumbering, or attempting to transfer any portion of the Growth Equity Fund or any asset titled to Ms. Tate alone directly or through any proxy. He will surrender within 48 hours all keys, mailbox privileges, tokens, devices, and passwords that touch these accounts. The parties will preserve all evidence and submit devices for forensic imaging. No new debt shall be incurred against marital property. There will be no contact outside counsel about finances. Violation will trigger civil contempt and referral to the district attorney. She signed and slid the order to the clerk. Status Friday at 10. Counsel confer on logistics. Ms. Tate, good luck with your surgery. The last line knocked me breathless for half a beat. I nodded. Mara squeezed my wrist. Out in the hallway, it was just us and the hum of fluorescent lights. Jason stepped toward me. His lawyer started to speak and then thought better of it. Lauren, Jason said, soft aiming for the version of me that always heard him. Can we talk without the audience? No? Quiet, not cruel. We don't do without anymore. I never meant to hurt you, he said. Like men say when they've specifically engineered harm and just didn't budget for the aftermath. You forged my name, I said. You wrote a script for a stranger to be me. You tried to tie my tumor around your wire cutoff. You meant to take everything and leave me sleeping." He flinched at tumor like he always did. Like the word was a light he didn't want to stand in. "Let me make it right," he whispered. "You don't have that kind of money," I said. We stood there with the order between us like glass. No yelling, no scene. Just a power shift you could measure in ounces, my spine taller, his voice smaller. Linda tried for the last word. "After all we've done for you," she began. Mandy's voice cut across steady. "Mom, stop." She turned to me, eyes clear, and nodded once. Not apology, acknowledgement. It was enough. Mara tilted her head toward the elevators. "Go eat, then hospital." "Hey?" Pre-op smelled like bleach and warm blankets. Paperwork stacked to the left, my clothing folded into a plastic bag to the right. A blue hair cap crowning my head at an angle that made Callie laugh through tears. The anesthesiologist explained the cocktail propofol fentanyl, a hint of midazolam, with the same calm Riley used to walk me through audit trails. The surgeon drew a small X, low on my belly, a cartographer of pain. "Any questions?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Please treat me like I matter, not like a problem to solve." His eyes softened above the mask. "Always." Callie took my hand. "You're the bravest person I know," she said, which isn't true but helped anyway. "I'll be here when you wake up." They rolled me past double doors, and the world narrowed to ceiling tiles and a rectangle of bright. I thought of the fund, of the UPS key, of the judge's order, of room 2410, of the boy with the clover ring, and the man with the laminate bubbles. I thought of my body, a house I'd neglected while I fought to keep my financial one from being stolen. "When you wake," the anesthesiologist murmured, "it will be done." I chose to believe him. Net. Waking up was like swimming toward a radio through honey. A nurse said my name like a lullaby. The surgeon appeared, scrub cap askew, eyes kind. "It went well," he said. "We removed the mass and sent it to pathology. It appeared benign to the naked eye, but we'll confirm in a few days. Minimal blood loss, clean margins." The word benign landed somewhere deep and warm. I cried without drama. Callie pressed tissues into my hand and said nothing because good friends know when to narrate and when to be a wall. My phone lived in a zip bag on the tray. 2 messages glowed through the haze. From Mara, order entered. Custodian acknowledged. Forensic imaging scheduled. Rest. From an unknown number that wasn't unknown, I'm sorry. Please pick up. I deleted it without listening. Quiet devastations travel better when you don't feed them extra miles. That night, in a dark room that beeped and breathed, I texted Riley a thank you that sounded inadequate, and Evan a line that said simply, "Still here." I slept with a hand on my own ribcage, reminding my body I was home. 2 days later, I shuffled from the car to our condo, slow and careful, clutching a pillow to my abdomen, the way the nurse showed me. Mara had already arranged for a locksmith. The UPS mailbox was closed. My name was restored to every statement. The devices were with a forensic vendor. Jason had signed the stipulation acknowledging the injunction and was out on bond in the criminal case his passport surrendered. Facts like clean lines on a whiteboard. The place was too quiet. I moved from room to room like a soft burglar. In the office, I slid open the bottom drawer and took out the velvet clamshell that held my wedding ring. It was white gold, thin, tasteful, my choice. I set it on the desk, then changed my mind and dropped it into a small cardboard box labeled Consigne. I taped the box shut. On the fridge, under a magnet from a cheap beach town, a list still hung in Jason's handwriting. Maui sunscreen swim trunks. GoPro mom's pills. I peeled it down, folded it twice, and filed it in a folder marked Evidence, because poetic gestures don't move courts, paper does. I sat on the couch and looked out at a city that had continued to move without me, and for the first time in months, the quiet didn't feel like punishment. It felt like space. The doorbell rang. Callie hair in a messy bun, sweatpants, a Tupperware army, chicken soup, real broth, and something illegal-looking with chocolate. She tucked a blanket around my legs, cleaned up the avalanche of hospital paperwork, and pretended not to notice when I dozed mid-sentence. Before she left, she taped a note on the bathroom mirror, "Pick you, every day." I did. Zut. On Friday, we were back in court for the status conference. Jason didn't look at me. His lawyer did all the talking, and none of the believing. The judge asked 3 questions, made 2 rulings, and repeated her warning. Touch the asset again, and I will put you in a box so fast you won't have time to call your mother. Outside, Jason hovered near the marble column like a ghost auditioning. I walked past without slowing. "Lauren," he said last try. I stopped 3 feet away, enough distance to breathe. "We're done," I said gently. Not because a judge said so, because I said so. He opened his mouth, closed it. There was nothing left to move but air. I took the elevator down with Mara, who doesn't do pep talks, which is why I trust her. Next, she said, handing me a slim folder, is the divorce filing. Property debts disclosures. Will be thorough and boring. It will drive him crazy. Boring sounds like heaven, I said. Good, she replied. Go home. Heal. When pathology calls, text me. When grief calls, text Callie. When he calls, let it ring. On the sidewalk, a bus hissed and a food cart smoked, and a woman in a red coat laughed into her phone like nobody had ever lied to her. I turned my face into winter sun and felt something small and stubborn loosen under my sternum. It wasn't joy. Not yet. It was the absence of fear, which is sometimes the same shape. 1 year later, the kettle clicks off in a sunlit walk-up in Brooklyn, and for a full beat, I don't move. I listen to the quiet and decide it isn't punishment anymore. It's mine. Pathology came back benign. The scars faded from crimson to pearl. The divorce decree arrived by certified mail, Tate v. Miller final. The growth equity position remains in my name under the court's protective order until the matrimonial accounting is complete. Jason took a plea on forgery and attempted scheme to defraud. He's on felony probation with a no-contact order barred from acting as anyone's agent, his passport surrendered. D cooperated, pled to a misdemeanor, paid restitution, and moved out of state to start over. Mandy testified under oath and then enrolled in a design program she paid for herself. Linda sends holiday cards addressed to resident. I don't reply. Seattle feels like a past life. After I healed, a recruiter slid an offer across my inbox, VP of brand, at a consumer health startup in New York. I said yes. I sold the condo, consigned the ring, boxed up the last of the beach town magnets, and put the proceeds where they could do more than glitter. It's called the Laurel Fund Small Legal and Counseling Microgrants for Women Disentangling from Financial Abuse. We host Paper is Power workshops with pro bono attorneys who teach the quiet mechanics that save me how to trace contributions, build a clean timeline, freeze an account without freezing yourself. We keep a one-page handout in plain English titled, How to Start a Record Without Starting a War. Every time a woman emails, I slept for the first time in months. The world tilts a millimeter back toward fair. On Saturday mornings, I walk 2 blocks to a pottery studio off DeKalb. The first time I sat at the wheel and tried to boss the clay the way I boss decks and budgets. It slumped. A man at the next wheel, Miles Chen, an architect with patient eyes, watched me wrestle and said, Center it first. Gentle pressure. The rest follows. We don't make promises. We make bowls. He brings sourdough. I teach him how to burn garlic less. When he asks about scars, I say, they're how my body keeps the minutes. When I ask about his, he says, mine are quieter. We leave it there, and somehow it's enough. The cases in New York move like glaciers wearing suits. Mara keeps the litigation boring and lethal, which is her love language. Evan in Seattle still answers my texts with exactly 8 words and a path forward. Riley at the fund administrator emails every quarter to confirm the legal hold and send an audit trail so clean it shines. Detective Rourke mailed me a photocopy of the blue envelope from room 2410 with a note, Quiet devastations travel. I thumbtacked it inside my closet, where only I see it. Sometimes the past still rings. A blocked number leaves a voicemail that begins, we should talk, and then remembers a judge is listening. Mandy sends a package with a designer bag I once loaned her and a handwritten note. Don't forgive me, but thank you for not forgetting me. I put the letter in a file marked closure and donate the bag to a shelter where women will put resumes in it instead of secrets. On the fund's first anniversary, Callie flies in and we sit on my fire escape with paper cups of champagne legs tucked under blankets, watching the burrow glow like a motherboard. You know, she says, you didn't just win, you changed the game. I didn't change anything I say. I followed the rules and wrote things down. She laughs. Exactly. The next morning, I run the loop on the bridge at stupid o'clock. The East River looks like hammered steel. New York does its eternal New York thing, honking, steaming, swallowing, and making indifferent to my little resurrection. My breath fogs in clean bursts. My abdomen pulls once and then relaxes. I lay a palm there, a quiet blessing for a house I live in again. People think revenge fixes you. It doesn't. It balances columns. It keeps a thief out of your kitchen. Healing is something else. It's the tiny daily audit of your own heart. This belongs. This doesn't. Keep discard. It's choosing not to answer a blocked call. It's answering your own. In the late afternoon, I teach one of our workshops in a library branch that smells like dust and hope. Women arrive in work scrubs, office clothes, hoodies. We talk about joint accounts that were never truly joint, about mailbox keys and metadata, and how a forged L looks confident until you know your own hand. We practice saying, "I need copies of that," and "Please put that in writing." We practice the hardest line of all, no. Afterward, a woman hangs back. She looks down at her hands and asks, "How did you—" "Stop being angry." I tell her the truth. I didn't. I let it pay for the foundation, and then I built the house on something kinder. That night, I walk home past bodegas and teenagers doing choreography, only they understand. I think about the roles people love to assign: manipulator, Jason, validator, Evan, anchor, Callie, revealer, Mandy, innocent. I used to think that meant the me I lost. Now I think it means the me I get to keep. The story I tell myself has changed. I'm not the woman who got left at an airport with an empty bank account. I'm the woman who showed up at the gate with a boarding pass and a plan. In my kitchen, the kettle clicks off. I pour water over tea and watch steam write cursive in the air. My phone buzzes. It's a photo from the studio, Miles holding up a lopsided bowl like it's a trophy. The caption reads, "Center first, gentle pressure. The rest follows." He's not wrong. If you're reading this because you're standing in a fluorescent-lit hallway with a file you hope will be enough. Here's my only question, the one I wish I'd asked myself sooner. What do you owe yourself that no one else is ever going to give you? Pick that. Pick you, every day. The rest follows.